Hello, guys. Thanks for tuning in for another story time with me. In this video, I have a story that is so wild, so strange, so unbelievable, that you'll be amazed. Are you curious? Let's dive in. In a bustling bar, Matthew, a 22-year-old college dropout, was trying to impress the girls around him, particularly hoping to win Henry's heart. The loud music and dancing girls created an energetic atmosphere. However, Matthew had already surpassed the legal drinking limit and was having difficulty keeping his composure while attempting to join the dancers. After several unsuccessful tries, Matthew gave up and slumped back onto the sofa. Noticing his state, he demanded the waiter to bring another round of tequilas or get the manager involved. The waiter, trying to be responsible, brought the check for Matthew's previous drinks since he had changed tables and started a new order. Despite the waiter's effort, Matthew was insistent on having another round, almost on the verge of losing control. At this point, the manager intervened, recognizing that Matthew had reached his limit and refused to serve him more alcohol. The girls returned to their seats, amused by Matthew's condition, and teased him for not being able to last longer and impress them. Amidst the young crowd in the bar, there was an unusual presence, Mrs. Harper Scott. She had been sitting quietly for over 2 hours, declining offers for alcoholic beverages and settling for a glass of orange juice. Standing out among the college students, she attracted curious glances from those around her. As the night continued, the contrasting scenes of energetic youth and Mrs. Harper Scott's serene demeanor created a unique and intriguing atmosphere in the bar. As Harper caught the attention of a guy who had clearly overindulged in alcohol, he was taken aback. Whispering to his friends, he commented, "Whose mother is that? Shouldn't she be taking care of her grandchildren or something?" Unbeknownst to Harper, the bartender overheard the remark, but he just smiled and tidied up the bar after the group left. Approaching Harper with respect and concern, the bartender said, "Excuse me, ma'am. I don't mean to intrude, and it's none of my business, but I sense you're not here just for fun." This unexpected attention made Harper look up and smile, appreciating the bartender's kindness. "You're right," she replied. "I'm not here for fun. Although, if it weren't for the loud music, I might visit here sometimes." The bartender empathized with Harper, sensing her maternal instincts. "I know I might sound like an overprotective mother, but I'm here to take care of my son. He's all I have, and I don't want him getting into trouble," Harper confided, nodding towards Matthew and the girls at the nearby table. The bartender praised Harper's dedication, remarking, "This is so thoughtful of you, ma'am. Not many mothers would do this." Harper acknowledged the truth but expressed her concern, fearing that Matthew's reckless behavior might lead to a dangerous situation. Meanwhile, Matthew excused himself and headed to the restroom to freshen up. Feeling somewhat revived, he returned to the table with newfound enthusiasm, suggesting that they all go to a nightclub downtown. He urged the girls to hurry up, intending to drive there himself. However, one of the girls, Tiffany, still thinking clearly, voiced her reservations. She was willing to go to the dive club but insisted on taking a cab rather than getting in Matthew's car. Irritated by Tiffany's caution, Matthew retorted, "You think I can't drive? If you're afraid, take a cab. I'll drive my car." Suddenly, a familiar voice interrupted the tension. "Matthew, honey, please take a cab," Harper implored. Her caring words resonated with Matthew, making him reconsider his decision and put the safety of his friends first. Harper cherished her son, Matthew, deeply, but she could be firm, especially when he got drunk. Matthew was conscious of the image he projected to Henry, whom he wanted to appear tough and independent in front of. Unfortunately, this situation shattered the facade he had partially created. He got up and faced Harper, trying to maintain his cool demeanor. "Hey, Mom, what are you doing here?" As Matthew saw himself as mature and cool, he had adopted the habit of calling her mother, particularly in public. Lately, Harper couldn't help but notice that he was becoming more like her ex-husband, John. John had been complacent, content with doing nothing, a couch potato. When Matthew was 5, Harper, unable to tolerate his inactivity, made the tough decision to ask him to leave the house. Matthew carried a deep-seated feeling that his mother was to blame for growing up without a father figure. He sometimes acted out of a sense of revenge towards her because of his father's absence. During a heated argument, he even expressed his belief that if his father had been around, he wouldn't have felt so lonely growing up. Harper felt deeply hurt by his words. She always wanted the best for her son, but Matthew seemed to prefer playing the victim rather than understanding the complexities of the situation. Trying to set things straight, she said, "Son, if you believe you're lonely because I asked your father to leave, you're mistaken. He never visited you or made any effort to find you. That was his choice." The argument escalated, and Harper realized that Matthew wasn't ready to face the full truth. He was still a young man struggling to come to terms with his emotions. Harper's ex-husband, John, had never truly wanted a relationship in the first place. He wasn't lost in life, he simply lacked the drive to take action and make a meaningful life for himself. His days were spent idly watching TV, drinking beer, and socializing with friends in bars, while Harper took on the responsibility of caring for young Matthew and working as a stay-at-home truck dispatcher. Despite providing for the family, John remained unchanged even after 5 years. Harper, before finally deciding to kick him out, had asked if he wanted to continue living that way, but John was content with his lifestyle. As Harper confronted the situation, she turned to her son, Matthew, with a pleading expression, asking for the car keys. She could see the desperation in his eyes, silently begging her not to do this, especially in front of his friends. Though Harper deeply loved Matthew, she acknowledged that she might have indulged him too much with her affection. However, she felt helpless about changing the situation. Frustrated, Matthew's irritation grew as he snapped at Harper, urging her to leave. But she remained firm, determined to ensure her son's safety and prevent him from driving drunk. In the bar, the girl Matthew was trying to impress, Henry, watched the scene unfold with a smile. Infuriated, Matthew stormed out of the bar, heading for the car that his mother had gifted him for his 20th birthday. Harper followed closely, knowing she had to do whatever it took to protect her son. As Matthew got into the car and started the engine, Harper managed to jump into the passenger seat. Despite her pleas, Matthew ignored her warnings and sped recklessly down the highway. Emotions ran high, and he lashed out at Harper, saying hurtful things. The weight of his words struck her deeply, making her consider whether it was time to let him go and stop worrying about the consequences of his actions. Matthew had turned 23 recently, and Harper believed he should be responsible for his own choices and actions. As they maneuvered through traffic, Harper's mind raced, contemplating her son's words and the tough decision she might have to make. She understood that it was time to allow Matthew to face the consequences of his actions and learn from them, even if it meant stepping back and giving him the space to grow on his own. Just as Harper was about to calmly ask her son to stop the car, a loud bang startled them both. Immediately, Matthew brought the car to a halt, realizing that he might have hit someone. The gravity of the situation sobered him up instantly. "Mom, I think I hit someone," he exclaimed, and Harper, now filled with concern, quickly got out of the car to assess the situation. On the ground lay an old man, injured by the collision with the car's bumper as Matthew attempted to turn right at an intersection. The severity of the man's injuries was evident, leaving them feeling helpless. Harper immediately called 911 for assistance while trying to keep her composure. Feeling overwhelmed, Matthew sought comfort in cigarettes and asked his mother to fetch them from the dashboard. Harper, lost in the chaotic moment, struggled to find the pack but remained focused on the unfolding events. The wailing sirens signaled the arrival of the ambulance and police. As the paramedics attended to the injured man, the police approached Harper and Matthew. The officers expressed concern that Harper might face charges for reckless driving. Harper looked at her son in astonishment as he began to recount a different version of events to the third officer. Matthew admitted that he had initially been driving, but he claimed that his mother had ordered him to stop, leading to a seat switch. "It's my car," he asserted, "but, as I told you, I had warned my mom to pay attention and look straight." Harper was taken aback when Matthew accused her of driving recklessly and not noticing the old man they hit. Her eyebrows shot up in surprise, but he sadly smiled back at her, admitting, "I'm sorry, Mom." Deep down, Harper knew what Matthew was doing. He was counting on her to take the blame, and she had the choice to speak the truth and clear her name. However, a peculiar kind of mother's love overwhelmed her, preventing her from accusing her own son. Despite the turmoil in her heart, she quietly accepted the reality of the situation. Harper understood that she was enduring heartache just to protect her child. She couldn't resist, and as Matthew continued to explain what happened, she let it all go, preparing herself to accept her fate. Harper's cooperation during the proceedings surprised the officers and court. She signed all the necessary papers, calmly accepted custody, and faced the trial with an unusual serenity. The court acknowledged her cooperation, but despite that, she was sentenced to 7 years in prison for the reckless driving incident that led to the pedestrian's death. When the verdict was pronounced, Harper felt utterly broken. She became engulfed in a fog of despair, unable to hear anything but muffled voices. Emptiness consumed her, and she couldn't help but feel shattered. 2 years passed, but Matthew never visited his mother, nor did she expect him to. Harper had come to terms with the fact that she no longer had a son. The weight of the sacrifice she made for her child was heavy, and she endured her time in prison, harboring a profound sadness deep within her heart. At Harper's request, her friend made the decision to sell her trucking company. Part of the proceeds went to compensate the victim's family, while the remaining amount was deposited into Harper's bank account. Throughout her time in prison, Lily was the only person who not only visited Harper but also expressed outrage over her being kept in the general population despite her declining health. Feeling like she had vanished from the world, Harper lost interest in everything around her. In the initial days of imprisonment, she questioned why she had to endure such suffering and hardship. Gradually, the desire to disappear forever and end the pain consumed her. After several visits and lengthy conversations, Harper finally opened up to Lily about the truth behind her imprisonment. Upon learning that Harper had taken the blame to protect her son, Lily was heartbroken. As she delved deeper into Matthew and Harper's relationship, her anger grew. Unbeknownst to Harper, Lily had been working on a secret trial behind the scenes, aiming to reopen the case and seek justice. Surprisingly, the prosecutor who had initially built the case against Harper was now working as a defense attorney. Lily discovered this and reached out to Nathaniel Patterson, that very attorney. One day, during one of her visits to Harper, Lily appeared with Nathaniel. Confused, Harper looked at Nathaniel while Lily briefed her on the developments of the past months, not allowing Harper to respond. Determined to support her friend, Lily assured Harper, "Dawn, I have your back, so don't even try to talk me out of this. It's just wrong. I'm going to get you out of here. I don't care if he's your son or who he is. This is simply unjust." Harper sighed and gazed at Nathaniel, who replied, "Harper, it's good to see you again. This time, I'm on your side. I've reviewed your case, and I believe we can get you out of here." "What happens after that?" Harper asked, her voice tinged with indifference. "I'll be released, and then what? I've lost everything. My business is gone, and people I know see me as a crazy convict. Should I go around telling everyone I was wrongly imprisoned and that my son should be the one behind bars? Why would I want to live like this? Can you tell me?" Nathaniel struggled to find the right response, explaining that it would be freedom. "Freedom?" Harper countered. "But freedom can be far worse than life in here. Don't you understand? We can't undo the past. Things will never be the same, and in fact, they could be even worse. However, Nathaniel proved to be different. He visited Harper more often than expected, and their interactions became something she started looking forward to. Meanwhile, Matthew had won Henry's heart, and they had been living together for several years. The substantial amount of money in Harper's bank account was known to Matthew, and Henry didn't hesitate to be with him. Still, the fact that Matthew couldn't access the account at times bothered her. "It's not your money, Matthew," Henry reminded him. But Matthew defended, 7 years in prison is no laughing matter. "She must have changed. I haven't heard from her in so long, she may not even be alive." Henry insisted that they couldn't be sure of anything. Yet, Matthew firmly believed that his mother loved him enough to leave him the money. He was convinced she had made that choice for him. Trying to change the topic, he mentioned the incident when he convinced Henry to get in the passenger seat. "I never understood how she convinced you," he said, recalling how she stormed out of the bar like a rocket. Henry believed him, and Matthew wiped the sweat from his brow. As their lives moved on, Harper's fate remained uncertain. But with Nathaniel by her side, there was hope for a different future. The possibility of Henry leaving him if she ever discovered the truth weighed heavily on Matthew's mind. It was something he couldn't afford. So, he waited a few more months before addressing his mother's inheritance. Recently, by chance, Matthew ran into Lily, his mother's friend and former assistant, who had once held the position of vice president in Harper's company. Initially, Lily intended to ignore Matthew and continue on her way, but it was Matthew who decided to approach her. "Hey, Lily. Have you heard from my mom?" he inquired, trying to mask the anxiety in his voice. Lily grinned in response. "Well, she should have been released by now, her sentence is over. I'm just concerned because, you know, prison can be dangerous. People can die in there," she expressed genuine worry. As Matthew tried to keep his composure, his heart pounded in his chest, fearing the potential revelation of the truth. Lily scoffed at his apparent nonchalance. "People die, you say? Is that what you're waiting for? Well, you can consider her dead already, and you'll never see her again in your life," she retorted sharply. Confused and wanting clarity, Matthew asked, "What do you mean, consider her dead? Can you explain it in simpler terms?" Without hesitation, Lily expressed her strong disapproval of Matthew's actions, branding him an absolute piece of garbage and a total jerk. With that, she turned and left, suppressing the urge to unleash even harsher words on him. But she didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing her stressed or upset, as she believed he didn't deserve such attention. Despite the sting of Lily's words, a broad smile spread across Matthew's face. He had heard exactly what he needed from her. It seemed he could continue with his plans, confident that the truth would remain hidden. Matthew was confident that he could soon settle everything and initiate the inheritance process. He firmly believed that his mother, Harper, was either seriously ill or already deceased. Trusting in his lawyers to handle the matter, he returned home with excitement, eager to share the news with Henry about their upcoming trip abroad, as he had promised. Upon hearing Brendan's words, Henry responded with grace, albeit playfully chiding him for not being exactly on time. She expressed her disappointment as they had run out of money a while ago and Matthew had not taken any action. Matthew reassured her that he had met with the lawyer, and soon, the inheritance would be his. Henry looked at him with excitement in her eyes, curious about the details. Matthew confirmed the news, mentioning the substantial amount of money involved. Henry was elated, and they shared their joy at their dreams coming true. She admired Matthew for taking charge and felt that he had become a capable man, ready to fulfill her wishes. To mark the occasion, Matthew even dressed up in a suit. However, Henry found it somewhat callous that Matthew seemed to be celebrating his mother's possible demise. She gently reminded him that he would have to live with the label of having a mother who was involved in a pedestrian's death. Despite his unease, Matthew tried to end the conversation, urging Henry to hurry as they headed to the lawyer's office. To his surprise, Lily was also present at the lawyer's office. Matthew felt slightly irritated by her presence, wondering if his mother had left something in her will for this woman. However, the situation proved to be more intriguing than he had anticipated. Matthew anticipated being handed the necessary papers, but the lawyer interjected, "Before I announce anything, I want you to see a short clip." Irritated, Matthew tried to skip that part, but the lawyer informed him that his mother had insisted he watch it first. All eyes turned to the screen, where Harper appeared, alive and well, holding a baby in her arms, radiating a genuine smile. "Is she alive?" Matthew asked, but no one answered. In the video, Harper addressed her son, acknowledging that he was now a grown man and on his own, as he had desired. She advised him to be true to himself and never let down those around him. As the clip ended, she revealed that she had taken all the money out of the account since he didn't want anything to do with her, even after she had served her time in prison. However, she left him a one-bedroom apartment in the city. Overwhelmed with emotion, Matthew sobbed like a wounded animal. Henry stormed out of the room, not sparing a glance at him. Lily was furious with Harper, yet she couldn't help but recognize that even in these circumstances, Harper acted like a true mother by leaving something for her son. Meanwhile, across the country, Harper sat with someone who genuinely appreciated and loved her, her new boyfriend, Nathaniel Patterson. During the evidence-gathering process, Nathaniel had been amazed by Harper's kind heart. As they prepared for a new trial, Harper made a decision. With little time left before her release, she didn't want to cause her son any more pain. Taking everything into consideration, Nathaniel suggested that she let Matthew go so that he could be held accountable for his actions. Harper faced a difficult choice, torn between her love for her son and the desire to ensure he took responsibility for his actions. As she contemplated the path ahead, she knew that whatever she decided, it would be an incredibly challenging and emotional journey for both of them. After extensive discussion, Harper and Nathaniel decided to leave Matthew alone and not respond to his request. Nathaniel, who had experienced a failed marriage with his cheating ex-wife, also a lawyer, found solace in his newfound relationship with Harper after her release. They spent time together and eventually decided to live together. A year later, they welcomed their daughter into the world. Despite the challenges they had faced, Harper felt genuinely happy and grateful for her current life. In a stuffy and crowded DMV office, people were visibly annoyed by the long wait, aggravated by the malfunctioning air conditioning. The room was filled with individuals fanning themselves with hats and binders. A young disinterested guard served the crowd, seemingly indifferent to their frustrations. Amidst the ordinary scene, a tall, broad-shouldered man in worn-out clothes stood out. His faded blue jacket resembled that of a soldier, but his unkempt appearance and a large burn scar covering half of his face gave him an intimidating aura. His disfigured hands remained hidden in his pockets, and he looked anxious, continually checking his watch. Knowing the DMV office was about to close for lunch, he seemed worried about making his appointment on time. The guard, with a sly grin, informed the man, "Looks like you're not going to make your appointment today, old man. Isla and Ruby will not be staying any longer." Isla and Ruby, the middle-aged women working at the DMV, had grown tired and arrogant from dealing with the long lines of hopeful visitors. Their attitude changed, and they seemed only concerned about visitors who brought them money or expensive gifts. However, a new employee, Harper, joined the office, setting herself apart from her colleagues, Isla and Ruby. Harper was a recent graduate of an orphanage and had modest means. She was dedicated to her work and followed the example of her beloved teacher, Amelia Wilson, who had mentored her like a mother figure. Harper did not take bribes and worked diligently, earning her the nickname, "Straight Orphan," behind her back. Isla and Ruby were pleased to have her in their department, but their intentions were far from genuine. They exploited Harper's willingness to work hard, often assigning her most of the tasks while they relaxed, read magazines, or went shopping during lunch breaks, often returning late to the office. Gossiping and making fun of Harper's appearance became their favorite pastime. However, they failed to acknowledge that Harper's modest and tasteful attire, along with her fresh-faced minimal makeup, made her 100 times more beautiful than they were. Instead of working on their own shortcomings and striving for self-improvement, Isla and Ruby found pleasure in spreading rumors and speaking ill of Harper. They ridiculed her single status and mockingly nicknamed her Bird. Harper's strong work ethic and commitment to her job were considered boring by Isla and Ruby. With only 15 minutes left before lunch, Isla and Ruby picked up their expensive bags with a facade of dignity and walked out of the office. As they left, Harper remained focused on her work, unmoved by their mean-spirited behavior. She knew that her genuine dedication and integrity would prevail in the end. The man with the burned face was taken aback and pleaded, "Girls, please don't leave. I've been waiting in line since this morning." Isla and Ruby ignored him, showing no concern. However, the man persisted, desperate to get his driver's license photo changed before his bus departed for his village. He explained, "My bus leaves in 20 minutes, and it's the last one for today. I just need to change the photo, please." Isla responded irritably, "Listen, old man, there are many of you here, and there are only 3 of us. Come back after lunch." But the man pleaded further, explaining that his mother had a heart condition and was waiting for him at home. Despite his pleas, Isla and Ruby remained dismissive. Denise's face twisted in disgust as she ordered the guards to remove the man. The guard, worried about losing his job, followed orders and pushed the man out of the room, locking the door behind him. When Harper heard the commotion, she ran outside to see what was happening. Isla tried to stop her, criticizing her for taking extra time with customers, but Harper ignored her and called out to the man. Seeing the burn scar on his face, Harper hesitated but quickly composed herself and offered to help him. She assured him, "Please come back to the office. I'll take care of everything, and you'll make it in time for your bus." As Harper worked on the man's paperwork, he sat hunched over, lost in his thoughts. He muttered about the lack of justice in the world and the risks he had taken in his life. Harper completed the document and handed it to the man, who remained visibly upset. She apologized for her colleague's behavior and acknowledged the stress of his job. She sympathized with him, trying to provide some comfort amidst the frustration. With the paperwork done, the man thanked Harper and rushed to catch his bus, grateful for her understanding and assistance. The man with the burned face was taken aback and pleaded, "Girls, please don't leave. I've been waiting in line since this morning." Isla and Ruby ignored him, showing no concern. However, the man persisted, desperate to get his driver's license photo changed before his bus departed for his village. He explained, "My bus leaves in 20 minutes, and it's the last one for today. I just need to change the photo, please." Isla responded irritably, "Listen, old man, there are many of you here, and there are only 3 of us. Come back after lunch." But the man pleaded further, explaining that his mother had a heart condition and was waiting for him at home. Despite his pleas, Isla and Ruby remained dismissive. Denise's face twisted in disgust as she ordered the guards to remove the man. The guard, worried about losing his job, followed orders and pushed the man out of the room, locking the door behind him. When Harper heard the commotion, she ran outside to see what was happening. Isla tried to stop her, criticizing her for taking extra time with customers, but Harper ignored her and called out to the man. Seeing the burn scar on his face, Harper hesitated but quickly composed herself and offered to help him. She assured him, "Please come back to the office. I'll take care of everything, and you'll make it in time for your bus." As Harper worked on the man's paperwork, he sat hunched over, lost in his thoughts. He muttered about the lack of justice in the world and the risks he had taken in his life. Harper completed the document and handed it to the man, who remained visibly upset. She apologized for her colleague's behavior and acknowledged the stress of his job. She sympathized with him, trying to provide some comfort amidst the frustration. With the paperwork done, the man thanked Harper and rushed to catch his bus, grateful for her understanding and assistance. It turned out that the hero had missed the bus after all. Desperate, he decided to walk, hoping to catch a ride. To his surprise, an expensive SUV stopped in front of Chris. The driver was the mayor himself, who recognized the upstanding citizen and felt it was his duty to take him to his destination. Chris Clark, a submarine midshipman, had served a long time on a nuclear submarine. One day, a terrible fire broke out on the ship, endangering countless lives and the environment. After heroically putting out the fire, Mr. Clark suffered severe burns and became disabled. He was discharged and sent home for a well-deserved rest. However, new troubles awaited him in his hometown. His wife, unable to cope with his condition, left him. Chris later learned that she had been having affairs with several other men. Feeling abandoned, he returned to his village to live with his elderly mother, leading a lonely life. He began to drink, but still managed to maintain some control over his actions. He cared for his mother and focused on her well-being, often neglecting his own appearance. In the village, people had long known and gotten used to his old ensign's pea jacket and the scars on his face. After a visit from the mayor, both Isla and Ruby were released, and Harper was given the role of head of the DMV office. Harper embraced the challenge and treated customers with kindness, assembling a young team to make the DMV operate efficiently. As a result, customers no longer had to wait in long lines, and employees received positive feedback. Harper's personal life also took a turn for the better. She met a charming man who worked as a cameraman for a local television station when journalists visited the DMV to film a story about her and her job. The young operator was taken with Harper's friendly and open demeanor. They took walks together after work, and soon he invited her to the movies. A month later, Harper and her new boyfriend, Henry, were inseparable, and her cat, who had been destructive out of boredom, stopped tearing up the wallpaper, content with the newfound love in the household. On Memorial Day, Harper and her friends, including Henry, who was filming a story for the evening news, attended a gathering in Harper's honor as she was being recognized as the best social worker in town. As she stood on the stage, she spotted a distinguished man in full dress uniform, his chest adorned with medals and decorations. It was Chris Clark, the courageous hero she admired. Chris delivered a heartfelt speech to the residents, sharing his life story and deeds, emphasizing that he served his country not for the accolades but out of a sense of duty and love for his fellow beings. He praised Harper for her kindness and compassion, acknowledging her as the epitome of honesty and integrity. When Harper heard her name called, she was surprised and touched as the hero invited her to the podium. With the help of others, she climbed onto the tall platform, and the entire town erupted in applause. Chris presented her with a beautiful bouquet of lush roses, making her feel honored and appreciated. Henry captured the emotional moment on camera, and later, while watching the news together, he expressed his sincere and true love for Harper. He marveled at how beautiful she looked on screen, comparing her to a movie star. Harper laughed, humbly dismissing the comparison, but Henry assured her that her beauty surpassed anything the camera could capture. As they embraced, Henry lovingly expressed that in real life, Harper was 100 times more beautiful. He cherished her for the person she was, and Harper knew she had found someone who valued her deeply. Regarding the story and characters, I think it's a touching narrative of resilience, compassion, and finding love amidst life's challenges. To add more depth to the characters, their backstories and motivations could be explored further, delving into their personal struggles and growth. Additionally, providing insights into the hero's experiences during his service and how he coped with his disabilities could add emotional depth to the tale. Overall, the story is heartwarming, and by enhancing character development and adding further emotional layers, it could become even more impactful and engaging. And that concludes my story. I hope you found it enjoyable to watch and listen to. If you did, I'd be delighted if you could show some love by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I regularly share new stories every week, so make sure not to miss out on future content. If you have any questions or comments about this story, please feel free to leave them below. Your feedback and support mean a lot to me. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Goodbye for now.